Hey guys, sorry about the hat. I just woke up and my hair is a goddamn mess. But today I want to talk a little bit about this age-old question about helping Makokos learn raids and what the most efficient way to do that is and whether or not we have enough systems in the game to work on that. We had this conversation last night on the stream and I think we came up with some pretty good solutions in our conversations. But at the moment, really, the only way to find a learning party consistently is to learn from a learning Discord. So go to a learning Discord and join that Discord and find people to help you learn the raid. And if you don't know or have never heard about these before, I'm going to leave a link in the description below with the Lost Ark Nexus page that has the repository for all of these learning Discords because they're probably the best resource for anybody who's new at the game to go learn raids right now. But yeah, we talked about this on my stream last night, and I think we came up with some pretty good ideas. So I wanted to share those with you today in the stream highlight. As always, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/misoxshiru starting at 10 p.m. PST. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. And if not, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, enjoy. D4 bust earlier. Someone cool tried to help and dropped yellow wrong. I'm sorry. That's the tough part about like doing buses, right? There's like I don't know. There's just like a lot of like people who want to like learn the raid when they're riding the bus, and like it's I'm all for learning the raid, but at the same time, like it's kind of sad that those people have to go to buses to try to learn raids. Like it's like there should be a better advertisement in the game for people who want to like you know what I mean? Like I think like at this point, the LFG Discord is kind of like almost like an official part of the Lost Ark community, right? It was like made by some streamers and stuff like that, kind of like to help people. So like it's almost like if you go here to the party finder, maybe there should be something like here or something like that that just says like, hey, if you want to learn, here's some good resources for you to go, or like an information button, right? That way, like people can like go and join those discords and not have to worry about like buying buses to like learn how to raid. I really feel like that could be like a nice thing to have or like an important thing to have for the community. There are other games that have mentor role where you get extra meaningful rewards teaching others. You see, I've thought about this before, right? It would be nice to have that, but at the same time, because we do 8-man raids in this game, how would the party feel that if you're a mentor, right, and you take in a learner into a reclear party? That really wouldn't work out, right? It's just like the way that we have the game set up right now, unfortunately, doesn't really make it so that mentors can be that useful. The only way is like if you do a full mentor-mentee party. That's the only way you can make that work. But at that point, there's no difference between that and just like going to LFG Discord and setting up a party. Mokoko Mentor exists. Yeah, there's a Mokoko Mentor thing, but at the same time, again, it's not a widespread thing, and there's not really any rewards to that other than, you know, the title, right? I think you should set the party as has learning when someone sets its role to mentor, and only players less than 10 clears can apply. I mean, I don't really see, I guess, what the difference for that between that and setting it as a learning party, quote unquote, is at the moment, you know? Like if you just put it in your title, right? Learning party. I think the same thing would just kind of happen. Like people who aren't learners probably wouldn't apply to it. Basically, it would not allow other people to abuse the mentor role just to get rewards. Um, I mean, again, I just don't think that the mentor system works because of the way that the game is operated. Like again, even if you had a mentor system in the game, you can't join. Like, why? How do I say this? You need to have enough mentors and mentees at one time, right, to be able to get a run together. But how often are you going to have a situation where there's going to be enough mentors and mentees doing like a run together like that? It's not as often. And also, Basically, what it would mean is that they wouldn't be able to join any normal raids. They would always have to kind of build their own raids together. It would be very hard. Of course, I think that it would be a step in the right direction. I'm not saying that's a bad thing per se. I think that having a mentor system would be really good for the game. But at the same time, I just don't think that it would do too much to the game because of kind of how the raids themselves are structured. You see it all the time, people offering to help with Cocos. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it doesn't happen, right? Running a learning raid at the moment is the same thing. Like maybe like a mentor system would offer like more people hosting learning parties, but I don't think the problem is that there's no learning parties. There's always learning parties happening. Like if you go to these LFG discords, you find people hosting learning parties. There's almost always learning parties happening. But the thing is, people don't know where to go to find the learning parties is a problem, I feel. Like I think that's the main issue. Rather than not having enough incentive for people to do it, it's that people don't know about it. People don't know that there are like places you can go where you can find these learning parties. And also people are like the people who don't know it, they probably like host like a little party that says learning party in the in the title, and you know, they get sometimes get mixed results. Thing is, you can't expect Makokos who are new to the game to just go to a third-party app, aka Discord, to find learning party. That just feels too much of a name just to play the game. Oh, of course. But the thing is, how do I say this? That's what I think the game needs: a better system for people to be aware of these things, to be people to be aware of these resources that you can have. Maybe what it is like having this right, this global chat right here, and making it so there are like there's like a global chat like repository, and having a specific, maybe where it's like having a specific tab like learning, right? Instead of saying invites right here, it says learning, and then in here you have Vicus, Volton, Clown, whatever, right? And then from there you can start like being like, hey, I'm looking to learn this run, can anybody help out, like things like that, so that they don't have to go to a third party. Like that at the end of the day is like what I think would be the most effective. Just like building in more places in the game and more structure in the game, so people can actually find people to help them out. For me, if you have to look for an external system disorder, something that fails with the game design, I mean, again, I just think it's partly because of how the Lost Ark is kind of like put together, right? They could potentially have, like you said, they could have like more mentors. I think mentors could be helpful, but like you'd have to build in the systems into the game to make it so that the mentors are advertised, I guess. And then an easy way for mentors to work together to build parties together. Because it would be very hard to just put up a party on the party finder and expect people to join it at that time. Like there's I don't know if there's enough learners at each time of the day to be able to like fill up a full party at all times of the day. You might have to have some place where you can actually plan it. That'll depend on the raid. Something like G4 Brel is hard to find learning parties even on Discord. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it's better than just like putting up like a learner party in like here, right? But again, I just wish they would build something into the game that is like more similar to Discord, because even if they had like a mentor system, you would have to have a way for those mentors to work together to build a party out, right? Because you need 8 people in a raid to run. And even if you as a mentor are like, okay, I have this one Makoko that I'm trying to mentor, you still need 4 more other mentors and Makokos to run that raid with you, basically. Unless you're gonna be let one mentor take on like many Makokos. And what is like the limit to that, right? Is do you get increased rewards when you do that? But also at some point, like the other thing that you get into with the Makoko mentor, like the mentor thing, is like at some point, what if the mentor just gives up and is like, okay, I'm just gonna bust you guys. Like that could definitely be a route that can be taken with the mentor system. It could definitely be exploited in that way as well. So it's like the mentor system could be helpful, but also it can be exploited, and you have to think about like what ways you can like set in the game where it can't be exploited, which is why I'm not even sure if like the having a reward for the mentors would be the best thing, because this game is bussable. It is bussable for sure. True, but it's not that the game is not full of time-based events, islands, dungeons, events, field bosses, so not the issue to have time slots for learning parties time. Well, I think that's an actual criticism of the game. There's a lot of content in the game where you actually can't find time-based things. Like there's so much time-based stuff in the game that people can't do because it is time-based and nobody does it. There is time-based stuff where the majority of the people do, but unfortunately, the majority of people are not learners. So I just think that having like some sort of like way to coordinate would be better. To be honest, I think they do an elo system and improve matchmaking so people get grouped up amongst themselves. Yeah, that would be kind of toxic. I remember doing a teaching party for a con. I spent 6 hours, 3 days straight. I noticed that 2 people were really slow learners. They were dying so much holding back. It was only me and Reclear. And yeah, that's something you need to deal with as well. And that's kind of like the tough part about this game is like it's a hard game for a lot of people. And there's a lot of times where if multiple people don't know how to do the raid, you just can't complete it. A simple thing that you could do is implement is have like many games have a tutorial for the raid where it explains the mechanics, lets you practice in your time. Yeah, and I think that is a good way to do it. Have like soloable content, and that could be like running these raids. Like, for example, like they have like one of these basically, except for like every single mechanic the boss does, you can do one of these. Like this is like Vaultin 3-second counter. This is like Vaultin, the hiding behind the rocks mechanic. Vaultin stage break. Like, this is like, a con whatever, a con stagger mechanic. This is gonna be, yeah, if they had something like that, that would be very helpful. Maybe the best way to teach someone a new raid right now is to carry them for a couple weeks and hope they're good. After a few weeks with that, you can only have 1 to 3 learners at the most. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because even if you carry them for a couple weeks, some people probably just can't learn it, right? They'll probably be on floor pov all 3 weeks, so it's a really hard balance to throw. And I think the only real way you can do it is like what we were talking about earlier, like having these soloable contents where you can learn the raid mechanics yourself. Because if you just rely on like being in the raid itself and learning that way, you always will run into situations where some people are slower learners than others. Some people are faster learners than others. And then the thing is like, it's kind of like thinking about a classroom setting, right? You have like teachers in a classroom, and you can't guarantee every single of those kids learns at the same pace. But the thing is, when you have an exam, some kids pass, some kids fail, but then those kids that fail go to like a remedial class, right? But we can't do that in this game. There's no such thing as a remedial class that you have just kids who are like, slower than the others, right? You can't really do that with raids. You can't just do, so maybe it's like these solo settings where they can actually go into these raids by themselves and like learn the mechanics could be like the quote unquote remedial classes for them. If you look at the recent raids, most of the problem comes from normal attack patterns. Most people die in normal attack patterns mechanics before the mechanic can start. Talking to my experience in teaching a con nowadays, if you need to learn the attack patterns, and more actually does, the attack patterns what kills people the most. Yeah, and I mean, I would love for like this training room thing again, to have like not just a mechanic. Like ideally, it could just have everything in here, right? Give me the boss mechanics, right? And then here's the attack patterns, like things that you can see here. And maybe it might even just be like for attack patterns, like might be as simple as like a video of some, like you could click on this and it just like plays a video of somebody taking that attack mechanic and then dodging it. Like something like that would be really cool. How's that just different than watching YouTube guides? Well, the thing is, it's not very different. But the thing is, we're talking about how most play, and you were saying this earlier, right? You shouldn't have to go to a third party um, website, third-party application to learn the raid, right? And I think that a lot of times watching YouTube's will be enough for most people, a lot of people. And also the thing is, for the YouTube videos, it's not like they always show you how to dodge those mechanics. Ideally, it would be a situation where you can actually spawn into the arena and the boss does that attack, and then you could like move your character around and dodge it. So, the kind of learner I am, I struggle from learning videos. Learning in parties is much different from being able to learn experience, build muscle memory. I don't have the best memory to grind the point. I mean, I think that's the case for most people. Most people learn better by doing.